Hey, Olumide, I'm so happy to finally see you. I warmly welcome you to our podcast and this collaboration where we are hosting, inviting 88 thought leaders who are redefining the way to live and learn. And, and we are strongly recommended that I should have you on the show and you sharing a lot about how you are changing this whole idea of living and learning. So please tell us about
Yeah.
yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Priyanka, first of all, it's an honor to connect with you. Andrea spoke highly of you. And so when he shares about people doing big things, I listen, I do my research, and honestly, I'll be real with you and anyone listening. I'm not an expert in this. I'm learning from Priyanka. I'm taking notes. I'm a new father. My son is 7 months old. And to me, I've traveled, just a background on me, I traveled the world probably the last 8 to 10 years. And even before digital nomad was a buzzword, I was already, buying and selling Instagram accounts so I could afford my Berlin hostel fees. And I
Wow.
was sleeping on friends' couches with couch surfer. Anyone remember couchsurfers.com? I don't know if they're still going, if they got acquired or dissolved, but I was the guy who was looking for couches in Germany, of all places, a guy
Wow.
that grew up in the United States. But for me, my background is I left Nigeria when I was 6 years old. I grew up in London, England from age 6 to 13. And then when I was 13, we won the green card lottery. And so my dad was like, "We're going to America." I was like, I was so terrified because I saw people with guns on the movies, and I was like, I don't want to go to America. And it turns out it was true. People have guns in America, and so there's a long story around that psychology of being an immigrant and traveling to new places, the fear, the new experiences, the beautiful parts of it. But I'd say that overall, even despite the challenges of moving to different countries, what made me who I am today is actually those experiences of being a new person in a new culture, in a new language, in a new environment. And that turned into me still following a traditional path from, undergraduate to even graduate school, have two master's degrees. I almost did a PhD, to then one day waking up and deciding, like, I'm not going to do a PhD just because my mom thinks I should do a PhD. Are you considered a PhD? I'm like, no, mom, I'm not going to do a PhD. I'm actually going to travel the world. And I decided at that point, the hardest decision I ever made was knowing that I could earn six figures as a professor doing research, living in a beautiful city. Actually, San Diego is an amazing city. I could have spent many years in this sunny city, but I decided I'd go be free, and freeze my butt off in Germany and be in a place where I basically didn't have an idea of what I was getting myself into, to be honest. And so, the good part of the story is after a couple of years, I learned how this digital nomad world works, and the digital side, which is how to create an income and be able to have the freedom to now, the freedom really is the freedom of movement, being able to live and travel wherever I wanted. And that thankfully is what happened, is that I learned a few things about marketing. I learned how to create and scale a digital marketing business. And that was my first foray into being an entrepreneur or business owner. I'd say less an entrepreneur, not creating a new idea, but just having an agency that was able to produce enough income to travel the world. So I hope that really, encapsulates who I am, where I'm from, what I do. And now, the last few things people know me from probably is the online events I was hosting during and after COVID. And we took a little bit of a break. We have another one next month, but the angle is I'm a community builder. I love to connect people. And a lot of it has actually been online because that's where my foundation started. And so I've built a lot of large communities of thousands of people who know each other online. Some of us never met, but funny enough, things after a couple of years or people are starting to meet in person. But I'd say my gift is, like, having lived in different cultures and communities is actually community building. And so now moving into this area of having a child, I'm learning from people like you on how this nomadic family traveling families work. And so I look forward to like kind of learning and answering questions, but also asking you questions around how to structure this lifestyle. Because again, the most important thing now is, from all that stuff I've learned, is now family. And yeah, that's what I would say. I hope that kind of answers it. I know that was a
Yes, yes.
long-winded answer, but yeah.
I think everything that you covered is what we talk a lot these days in Education Next or with MaNaBu Movement, where we are basically, MaNaBu Movement is about empowering kids so that, they are the leaders of tomorrow, obviously. And so how do we
Yeah.
create that space, that safe space, so that, they are not, stopped by anything which will not help them grow forward, right? So, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
now the trends, or now that people are setting amazing trends where, like you said, you decided that you do not want to pursue that PhD. Instead, you decided that you have your own path, you wanted to travel the world. And, few years back, these kind of dreams were maybe would have been thought like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Of course you're going to do your master's, of
Exactly.
course you're going to do your PhD. And even, many of us come from a very different background, but now I think there's a pursuit of chasing something very different, no matter where we are from, because the internet has exposed us to our, I think, some hidden
Absolutely.
dreams that we had
Yeah.
always, but we never dared. But now that internet is there, and I find
Yeah.
friends from different part of the world, I might not connect with people who I live with, but I am surely connecting with people who are far away in some distant land, but we have
Yeah.
similar dreams. And that's how, I'm meeting a lot of people who share the same vision of helping kids have a beautiful life, and where they will not be stopped
Yeah.
by a traditional system to start with. And when, a distinguished publishing like Washington Post says that there is a rise in homeschooling by 108%, that's a big number. I mean, we wouldn't have thought
Yeah.
that anything would go so
We never
crazily.
thought.
And
Yeah.
world schooling or homeschooling is, it's so many parents now trying to do things differently. They're traveling, they're not scared, they're not
Yeah.
under the fear of, pursuing a degree, or, going from one grade to another grade. They are letting kids be free. And most of these
Yeah.
children are following their parents. I'm sure when your kid will see you traveling, when your kid will grow with you,
Absolutely.
having these different business ideas, and you will be the first mentor, because they will be directly influenced by you, isn't it? And that's what
Yeah.
happens. Because my parents always told me that, um, this is the path to success. You do your degrees, you go,
Mm.
and then, you get a stable job, stable life, stable income, stable home.
The safe
And
choices,
and
whatever
now
that means.
Gen Z is saying that we don't want that stability. We want
Yeah.
freedom, right? Everybody needs that freedom. I want to work when I want to work. I want to work in areas that I might upskill tomorrow. I don't want to be limited. And that's the trend going on. And you are known like a person who is a influencer with AI as well. You are doing a lot of stuff with AI. And I think that's, again, something which will be pursued by a lot of young people now, because they will be,
Absolutely.
when they come to the market, that's what they're going to see. So we cannot follow the old ways of doing things anymore, right?
Yeah.
So tell me more about this. How do you think that it is the right time now that parents take
Mhm.
this step and take it to another level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw two things pop up that you were saying. I want to talk about first this trend, or this, not even a trend, but really the reality of young people who are born now in the last 10, 15 years. They're thinking, they're not, you ask them, what do you want to do? Like when you're older, they don't say go to college and get a good job. They say what thing? Well, they say YouTuber. They say,
Exactly.
I want to be a creator. I want to make content. You know why? Because also these things, they're proven now to actually be a viable career. People make money from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's not hard to actually create a full-time income now from social media. And so I think that's what a lot of young people are seeing. They have their favorite entrepreneur is Mr. Beast, the YouTuber who sleeps on an island for 30 days with no food and has to go fish, and crazy concepts that everybody probably 10, 15, 20 years ago would say this person is insane, has become the normal. I think it's great. I think when kids have a mentality that anything is possible, I think that's when you have adults that actually create impact and change for the world. So when you told me just a few moments ago, like, kids are exploring not going to college. My kid's not going to college. If he wants to, okay, here, if he wants to go to college, he can go to college, but it's not a requirement anymore. And I remember when I was in high school, when I was, I think, 18 years old, and I was finishing high school, I was thinking to myself, I was like, why is everyone going to college? And I asked my parents, I was like, do I have any other options? I kind of, maybe I didn't ask a direct question. I was just thinking to myself, like, why do I have to go to college? And the feeling was, because you just have to go to college. It's the only way to make money in America. It's the only way to be successful, whatever that success looks like, right? Becoming an employee, becoming a slave to the system. And I went to college because I didn't feel I had any other options. Today's youth now have options, and they see it because it's all over social media. It's all over YouTubers that are making 5, 10, 20K a month by talking about how to raise cats or fish or random things that, again, seem crazy. But because the internet has allowed people to have an audience and have interested people who are willing to pay, or in this case on YouTube, advertisers are willing to pay because you have enough viewers, anything is possible. So this is the biggest thing, is I hope parents listening or watching know that there's people who are on YouTube who are 17, 18, 19, making millions, talking about the most random topics, but because they're passionate, because they're consistent, because they put in the work still. It's not a free pass to not go to college. You still put in the work, but because they're working in niches and areas that they're passionate about, these people see traction. And I have, I know a kid when he was 17 made $1 million with in the crypto NFT world as an educator and as a creator. Please don't tell me these things are not, people can't create an income and have a great life because it's not the traditional path. So that's what I'll say to talk about that. Now, on the AI side, I know a lot of people are afraid of it, but what I see it is an ability to empower our children, and especially the parents as well. Because in my experience, it's allowed me to have more time with my kid. Because for one example is, I don't answer my direct messages anymore. I don't speak to clients on the front end. Just to give a practical example, the front facing part of me is mainly ran by AI, and my direct messages is ran by AI bot that basically can talk to somebody. And if they're interested in working with me, send them into a calendar that they can book a call to actually talk to me. And by the way, it learns and speaks to people based on their inquiry, whether or not they're actually serious, they have enough money to invest in working with me and any solutions that I have to offer. And so I see AI as a positive thing, first with the parents, because I get more time with my kid because I don't have to sit here. And I used to speak when I told you when I was in Germany, but I used to talk to people on DMs for 8 hours a day because I was still in my grind hustle time, right? And people still do that today. I don't know why. AI is there to basically imitate and speak like you and convert people into booked calls. But secondly, for the kids, I also see it as a way for allowing kids to educate themselves quicker, more efficiently. They don't have to sit in the classroom for 8 hours a day to learn about the history of Rome. As I know you've seen with Andreas and other leading families, they go to Rome or they go to places around the world in Europe to learn face to face with history. So you're in a position now, parents, to like take your kids to a place where if they were sitting in a classroom 8 hours, they don't remember anyway. Yet we all know that see, touch, feel, smell is the most efficient way to learn. So I think AI allows kids to basically the easy information that is, instead of reading in a textbook, they can ask it, boom, they already know it. But most importantly, they have more time again to go physically experience things because you don't have to sit there and memorize a book. That's kind of my thought on what you said.
Absolutely. I think the idea of being able also, because I think the world is huge to, learn, and some curriculum that was designed, I don't know, many years before, what you should study, what you should learn. And then it just boils down to learning that material and just, using it for your exam purpose, and then completely forget about it. And then you are going to next grade, where again, next set of things come, and the life just keeps going on and
Exactly.
on. And then sometimes when you are appearing or you are going through your career, you don't see that relationship of what you learned and, what are you doing now. So you will, I mean, of course,
Yeah.
even we relate to this, that we have no connection to, there were no skills that I learned in school that I could have ever, used
Yeah.
it, right,
They didn't
in my
teach us taxes, like basic financial literacy. I had to learn that so many years later, right? You learn credit cards, how to use good credit, to use money, leverage it to basically go and buy real estate and to buy assets. So you're not spending it on, I used to buy my vice was buying like Michael Jordan jerseys and shoes in college just so I make myself feel better. That's another story. But why did I spend thousands of dollars on sports gear? If I go back, and now I'm fixing those things, but if I could, I would have spent those thousands of dollars on even fractional real estate, like one of our colleagues, Lars, is doing. Spend $5,000 to buy 2% of an apartment 10, 15, 20 years ago, which probably is a 20 or 30x investment return on investment. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and like you said, there are so many creators out there who are creating such valuable content on finances, on
Exactly.
stock market, and so many other things that we never even heard about those things during our schools, and now we are like bombarded with so many
Crazy.
things, and I'm like, I don't even know this, and
Yeah,
and look at our kids; they can just choose what to learn specifically. They can go about it easily. They can, and if they're
absolutely.
passionate, they can just pursue it. And I mean, what is the hurry of, being narrowed down in such an early age of doing only 7 subjects or five
Yeah,
subjects?
exactly.
I think the conversation of, oh, the school has 7 subjects, I think is only limiting now, because I can see my
Yeah,
son.
exactly.
I can see him, he can just bubble down a biology book just like that because he's interested that day. You can't stop him from reading.
Yeah.
And if I
Wow.
and I
Nice.
imagine my situation when I was in school, I wouldn't even finish that 7 chapters because it
No,
was
no, no. One page, I'm done.
and
You know?
these kids, because they have, I don't know, the way they are exposed to the world or the kind of information they have more capacity and the freedom
Absolutely.
to learn the way they want, and so they do it or they refuse it. It's
Mm,
very clear, right? And
yeah.
many of the world schooling kids, if you see, they are learning the skills that they really need, even when they're traveling. They are, meeting people, they are staying in a
Yeah.
community, which I think many of us find very difficult if you have not been and stayed in different communities, and how to talk to people and how to socialize and how to say your
Yeah.
thank yous and how to say your please. And these are the real struggles that people feel, which I think is not going to be a problem for children who will meet a lot of people, who will
Mm.
be in
Yeah, they're
network.
more socially like adjusted and they have ability to interact better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could
And
see that.
I'm so glad that we are in times that we can think of this change. We can actually do it in action. And we might be early adopters, but I think
We're early. Yeah. But
so.
we're not that early because world schooling and people who just travel the world with their kids, I know that that's been going for probably decades as well. But you know what I think, Pri, is but it was stigmatized. Oh, irresponsible parent. Oh, your kid isn't in biology 101. They're 14. They don't know biology 101. But they know the whole darn history of the world better than you do, ma'am. And it's like it was stigmatized because people
Mm,
thought it was bad to not
mm,
put kids into these structures, jails, pretty much. And so I think what's happening, and to not to interrupt, apologies, but people are coming to more acceptance and understanding that it's not just okay to raise kids while traveling the world. It might actually be better for them than locking them in a cage in a school in the US where violence and crazy outcomes can occur for the mental, physical, emotional, sexual, whatever. In every way, it's probably best you have them out in the world so they can actually be away from these structures that are actually more damaging, I think.
absolutely. And before we wrap up, I really want to ask you, with all the, you know, new things that are happening. new inventions. There are creators. People are earning just through newsletters now. There are so many avenues
Yeah.
there to make a living with passion, videos, writing. And there is a huge number of things that people can really specialize now. So what
Yeah,
do you,
there's a lot.
yeah, so what do you think you can tell parents or young people, how can they make the
Yeah.
best use of it and not be, you know, shocked or surprised by it and be lost in this changing phase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the best thing is to pick one platform, is to avoid overwhelm. For me personally, and it's so funny, I'm giving the advice that I'm just finally getting to, because sometimes it's kind of just how life is. But I would pick something like YouTube, because the audience is so valuable that even if you have 500 people following you and they're your true subscribers, fans, you can make a lot of money from those 500 people, because even if 10%, 20% take action, you can make a living from that type of smaller audience. If you're selling something that's valuable, if you have a course, if you have a newsletter, if you have an audience that's captive and interested in you, you can make a good living, at least not millions necessarily, but you can make a living to be able to have, be able to pay for your regular, things in life, to just not have to go to a 9 to 5 or have to go to college to 4 years to have a job. I would say look at the platforms that are most interesting to you, that you feel you can create content. But also, when it comes down to being realistic, I think if you're going to be in it for the long run, YouTube is the best platform right now. I'm just saying, to just get straight to the brass knuckles, to just be real about it. But my number one thought around kids getting to online entrepreneurship is becoming a creator and going after your passion and sharing about it. And so we call it like building in public in the startup world, or even like just being a public, just being transparent and what's the word? Authentic. Be your authentic self. Don't hide the things that you think people may think might be nerdy, or they think may be not cool.
Mhm.
I started to see success when I started to just tell my truth. Like, this is why I make this decision. And sometimes, I'll be honest, kids and parents, some people may not like it and they may say bad words or bad things. But you have to realize that if you're passionate about something, you really love what you're doing, none of that matters. I wish somebody had told me that when I wish somebody had told me that until up to last year, or 6 months ago, where I still probably were making decisions based on what would my parents think, what would the community or the people that I know back in high school, whatever. Forget all that. Always obviously do things that are comfortable for you, that are legal, that are healthy, but be a creator by sharing things that you're passionate about. And if actually you do want it to scale, there's a technical side I can share right now, is study the algorithms. For example, on YouTube, when you get started, you should go and look at keywords related to your niche and related to what you're passionate about, that are low competition but high search. Meaning, if I'm going to be starting a channel for, let's just say, how to cook, you don't want to go and create a channel or content around just how to make breakfast. Everybody has you want to go after a keyword like how to make breakfast for vegans who don't like to, like peanuts. I don't know. Like, you have to be specific, and you have to look at things that are less competitive if you're going to be able to move and get attention. Now, that being said, the main thing is just be authentic. Create content in your authentic self that you're passionate about, and pick a platform that you enjoy. And I think if you stay consistent, then you're totally going to be fine. There's so many people. There's so many random people. Somebody sells Japanese trinkets and little like gifts and
Mhm.
candies that they get when they go to Japan. Who would have thought that could be a 6 or 7 figure business? It seems so random, but there's other thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who are also passionate about. So don't feel alone. If you like something and you enjoy it, I can guarantee you there's thousands, if not millions of people around the world. They just need to find you, and you just have to be yourself and be real. And I think anybody that stays consistent for at least a couple of years can be very successful. Yeah.
I think that's a great message to wrap up our talk today, because I think being authentic takes you forward. You might struggle now and then with, influences or whatever, but once you know what you're doing, why are you doing what you're doing, I think it all finds its way. And nothing that you want to
Absolutely.
do, will not have failures or will not have setbacks. But the idea is, like you said, when you're passionate enough, you know that it will always take you somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much for being here. And I
Thanks,
think
Pri.
I'm always open to learn and grow with a community like, this. So thank you so much, Olumide, and see you
Thank you,
again.
Pri. Thank you. I'm looking up to you. I'm looking to learn more and stay in touch. So keep sharing all these amazing advices, and look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully one day, maybe
Absolutely.
next year sometime. Take
Yes.
care.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Of course. Bye.